What's up, guys? Justin and Kristy here for Team Shenanigans, fresh off Atlanta Regionals, and we got a nice top 8 Demon Lord deck profile coming your way. Alright guys, so we headed down to Atlanta Regionals, played Vanguard Day 1, Buddyfight Day 2, and Kristy was able to not only make top 8, but go all the way to top 2, and sadly fell a little short, but second place is an amazing achievement. Especially with this deck that is not really considered meta at the moment, because let's be honest, Chaos just got new support. Thunder Empire just got new support. Those two decks are incredibly insane, and they were running rampant. Top 8 was 2 Chaos, 3 Thunder Empire, a Death, who's actually another guy from Locals, Kristy with her Demon Lords, and a Purgatory Knight player. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and go into the deck. And so first of all, you got to run your buddy, right? Demon Lord bots. So, do you want to talk about him a little bit, or?
Alright, so since he's your buddy, of course you play 4 of him, and if you don't know already, what he does is call cost, pay 2 gauge, and once per turn you can discard a card from your hand, search for any size 3 Demon Lord in your deck, call it out, and it becomes a permanent size 0 until it leaves the field. And then, of course, he can't be destroyed during your turn.
Yeah, so even like, what we ran into one thing, where, like, with the death monsters, while practicing, like, they'll try to make the other monsters swing into him, and he can't even be destroyed by attack as long as it's your turn.
No.
So, like, counter speed doing that weird thing.
Yep.
So it's really good. It can still be bounced, so that's something to...
So, yeah, that's something to watch out for.
And he has lifelink, too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's not nearly as big of a deal.
Attack.
Oh, yeah. The double attack is great because everything else in the deck has double attack, too. Besides, like, what, 2 cards? 2 monsters? Well, yeah. 3, right? Okay, and Ibuki.
Just
okay.
these.
More than I thought. And you always have your staff that reduces lifelink. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so next, now a lot of people say bots is the only thing you need to run it for. But in this build, we choose to, you know, when we were putting this together... And then we really didn't even have this card in the deck at first, but then you told me, hey, this card's so good I have to run it.
Yes.
And we run it at 4, so tell us about Blade Wing right here.
Alright, so Blade Wing is cast, call cost, pay 2 gauge to call him out. He gets the soul of the top card of the deck. And he has double attack, and every time that you attack, you can take a dungeon enemy from your drop zone, put it on the bottom of your deck, and just target a monster on your opponent's field and destroy it.
Is it just 1 dungeon enemy from the drop zone to the bottom, or is it 2? It's just one? Oh, okay.
Just 1, and he has double attacks, so every time you attack, you can do it.
That's so good. It can only target monsters, though, so it can't just destroy any card. But what kills me about this card is it also has 10k power.
Yes, so...
But
if your bots or anything like that can't hit anything, because most of all your other monsters in the deck, your size 3s and stuff, other than these, they all have like 7k attack. And sometimes there were a couple situations where they couldn't hit, so that's what you do.
That's so good.
And yes, this card is OP.
And
everything in here is dungeon enemy except your Ikazuchi, as far as your monsters go. So
yeah, even a couple.
Any of this can be put back.
Is one or two of the spells dungeon enemy? I know reset button is. I think.
Yeah. You know.
And Blade Wing is kind of offset. I would say, wouldn't you say its only downfall is it only has 1,000 defense?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but it would be unfair if it was any higher since it has 2,000. And you're only paying 2 gauge to call it out. Mm-hmm. It has Soul Guard. It has the popping skill. Mm-hmm. And how much did the putting dungeon...
And then if you have your wand on the field, his lifelink, you don't have lifelink for him at all.
Exactly, because it is only lifelink 1, right?
Yes.
And how often throughout the tournament would you say that being able to put dungeon enemies back in the deck helped you?
A lot.
A lot?
A lot, yeah.
Because you do run, like...
Even though I play 4 of these, you still would not believe how many times I would have 3 of these in my drop zone, and I would go to do bot skill and just pray that my last one was in there and not in my gauge. Yeah. So yeah, that's why you play 4 of that, because this is, other than your jack, this is probably most of the time this is what you want to call it.
Yeah, and if your opponent's smart, they'll be going after the Blade Wing because they don't want it to stay on the field, because that's just, it's wreaking havoc. Yeah. Because it's another 2-crit double attacker, which is the theme with this deck, it seems like. So, do you want to go into the next card?
Alright, so next we have Jack. You pay 2 gauge to call him out, and then he gets a soul from the drop zone. And then every time you enter your attack phase, you can put a card from your drop zone into his soul or to your gauge. And then if he has 2 soul, then he gets double attack and penetrate.
Right. So. And he's what, a 7/2/5?
7/2/5, yeah.
Oh, that's so good. That double attack and penetrate is just killer. Just killer.
Oh yeah, and this is also one of the only monsters in here that does not have lifelink. So if you end up having to go first and you want to call something out, this is usually the thing that you want to call out, just because he doesn't have lifelink, and you can choose usually I will choose to put that card from the drop zone that I would be putting into his soul, I put it into my gauge, so that way kind of offset.
Right, so turn 1 you don't need to double attack and penetrate. So if you have to go first, drop him and get 1 gauge back, because your opponent, you want your opponent to power through him anyway, so you can call your bots to the center on your next turn.
So yeah, kill it.
And no lifelink, like you said. Which, it and the next monster, the only size 3s with no lifelink, right? I think so.
Yes.
Yeah, as far as size 3s go. So this next guy is also a 3 of.
So yeah, Buki, he costs 1 gauge to call out, and then anytime that he's called out by effect, you can target a monster to destroy it, and if you succeed in doing so, then you take 1 of your opponent's gauge and burn them for 1.
Yeah, so the only downside of this card is you only get that effect. He has to be called out by effect,
so yeah. But, so this is your main target for Satsuki Palace, yes. So if you call it out with Satsuki Palace, he's free.
Oh, yes, and we will get into that abomination of a card here in a little while. That card just enables so many crazy plays for the deck. It's just insane. So now we're getting into what would you call kind of like the tech cards / support cards, kind of? Because I would say that
in my opinion, you play Athora.
Well, yeah.
I don't think that's a tech card, but these are your tech cards.
Right.
You play Athora.
But I would definitely say these cards are like what, the heart of the deck, basically.
These are,
as far as monsters go.
Definites.
So, Athora, this thing. It seems like you play Prism Dragons, and then you go to this deck, and you get an Athora for this deck, too.
Yep. Alright, so Athora, he costs 2 gauge as well, and he gets a card from the top of your deck into his soul. And he prevents your monster in the center from being destroyed by effects, and your set spells from being destroyed by effects.
That's so good. So good.
So yeah. So most of the time, depending on what matchup it was, if I already had a Blade Wing out or a Jack, this is your other thing that you call out.
It makes them have to attack through your bots rather than destroy it by effect. And it doesn't reduce effect damage.
Oh yeah, effect damage is reduced as well.
And it's another 2-crit double attacker with what, 7k attack?
7/7.
Yeah, and lifelink too, which that's not bad.
Yeah.
Because it gets Soul Guard, so basically, they're not really Thor's not going to be that big of a threat for them to keep swinging at it at the side, honestly.
Nah.
Okay, so, I guess the next monster is the bane of my existence. I hate this card so much.
Yes.
So
we play 1 Miseria. He costs 2 gauge to call out, and then you put a soul, or a spell from the drop zone into his soul. And he keeps your monster's effects from being nullified, which is very important.
Oh, God.
If you do go against Style of Justice, which I play quite a bit. this is what you want.
Style of Justice is what I took to regionals, and it's what I was practicing with all the time. So she had plenty of practice against it. And once she gets that card out onto the field, unless I can just cheese a win because she doesn't have shields with Penetrate, there's just nothing I can do because it just shuts my deck down. Such a good card. Such a good card.
So yeah, I made one just in case, and then I had extras in my side deck.
It's lifelink 2 also, right? And double attack, soul guard, 2 crit.
Yes.
Is it 7k? Yeah, it's like they're all 7k power except Bladewing. Yeah. And what? Ibuki is 6. Is it? No, Ibuki's
726.
Oh wow, yeah, they're all 7s. Yeah. Oh, except the next card.
Drum.
Okay, this was wasn't this kind of like a late edition?
Yes. Before we went, I made a few changes to my deck. I was playing the Impact Monster.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
a good card.
It is a good card, but I always drew it early, and when you draw it early, most of the time you're not going to have the gauge for that because it costs 3 gauge. So it was a dead card in my hand. And so these 3 cards used to be Impact Monsters, and then this used to be one of the...
what was it? It's not Jaeger, it's Dual Seeker.
Dual Seeker.
Yeah, the triple attacker, basically.
Anyway, so
drum.
I play 1 drum. I decided to put this in just as another target. If for whatever reason I didn't have enough gauge when I went to do bot skill, I wanted an extra target that only costed 1 gauge because there were some situations where Ibuki could not destroy a monster because their monster had an effect where they couldn't be destroyed. I chose to put drum in, even though he does destroy stuff. He's got Penetrate and...
It's like, what, lifelink 2? It still has Soul Guard too, so...
Yeah, so yeah.
It's 3 crit.
And, you know, the beginning of every attack phase, or my attack phase,
you destroy
the left and the right.
So good against, Thunder Empire, really any open center deck, even Chaos, really, as long as it's not a... Of course, if they have a Diablos on the side, it won't be able to be destroyed, but you're at least destroying their other card. So you're getting pluses no matter what you're going against, as long as they have monsters on the field. And again, playing like Sol Aster, I hate this card because it's going to pop my SD Jack and my Sol Aster once she enters battle. It's annoying. So next, so we kind of said these are kind of the techie cards. I'd say these are the super techie cards that probably a lot of people... I haven't seen people run these in any of their builds, but you run them and you love these cards.
Yeah. Ikazuchi, he costs 1 gauge to call out. He gets the top card of your deck into his soul. And if you have a size 3 on the field, he becomes a size 0. And anytime a size 3 on your field attacks, once per turn, you can burn your opponent for 1.
And it actually says originally size 3.
Yes, it's originally size 3. So your size 3s that you turned into 0s via bot skill,
those will still burn.
They proc his skill as well.
Oh, God.
A lot of people are playing the...
Chaos Blade?
Yeah, the other little Joker guy instead of this. And that's fine, but I like this better. I think in the long run, this does more than that. And I don't like the fact that you have to pay a life to do the other thing.
While that costs a gauge, you're usually going to have one or two extra gauges sitting around, especially when we get into the gauge ramping later. And he has Soul Guard. So yeah,
it was also funny. I can't tell you how many games where I killed people my first turn.
Oh, the first turn OTKs.
So yeah, if I went second and, you know, I do the bot skill, call out, whatever.
Anything with double attack.
And then...
drop an Ikazuchi.
Have Ikazuchi in hand. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from his 2 crits. And then burn for 1.
So that's 7.
Oh yeah, and then I forgot.
Oh yeah.
So that's 8 off of the 2 double attackers, 10. That's 11 damage.
Oh god, so dumb. So good.
So yeah.
So
this card allowed me to kill people my first turn. I don't know how many times.
And
it's also funny. A lot of people would attack this thing, so they didn't want it to sit on the field. And it's like, okay, I was gonna kill it next turn anyway because I wanted to do bot skill again to call something else. So that's fine.
Yeah, because once you can get like a bots and then like a what is it, the annoying bird on one side and then a jack on the other, it's just like, oh my god, I hate my life.
Pick your poison.
But I can understand people wanting to get rid of it because that burn damage is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And him by himself, he's a 5k power 2 crit.
5-2-1, yeah.
It's not bad stats at all, and for 1 gauge. The only downside is he is the only non-Demon Lord in the deck, right? Yeah. He's not a Demon Lord or a Dungeon Enemy.
So you can't use your Abominable Rituals to save him, but
and also he still works with this busted spell because he's an original size 2. So he's just another target for that. Oh, it's so good. So we mentioned Chaos Blade Joker. We run a Joker in this.
Yeah.
You love running a certain Joker in this, but not Chaos Blade. Tell us a little bit about this amazing card.
Okay, so Heat Blade, like I said, I was playing the Impact Monster, and I chose to take it out because I didn't have the gauge for it early, and then if I went into late game, usually I kill the opponent pretty quickly, and if I didn't, then I was also tight on gauge then, so there's just never really enough gauge for it. So I decided to put this in. You know, if it's on the field, you can choose to move it into a card without soul on your field, and it gets soul guards, so you put it into your bots to save your bots. So that's another time they're having to attack your bots with at least 7k to kill it.
Oh yeah.
And
there's a lot of destruction effects and bouncing effects.
So yeah, especially with the new chaos stuff, anything, you know, if they want to bounce it, they're going to have to work harder to bounce it, work harder to kill it.
It's an extra monster.
I really like it. So times where, you know, you already have all your bots and everything, if you have your search spell in hand, it's like, okay, well, I'll go ahead and pay a gauge and search out a Heat Blade that don't cost anything, put it into my bots, and that's essentially having 2 bots on my field to me.
So good. And it could be like an extra, it's a size 0, so you can call it out at any time.
Oh yeah, he can be an extra attacker if you want to be an extra attacker.
It never really comes to that because everything in the deck has Soul Guard.
This guy you gotta have.
Okay, so that's it for the monsters, and that is a really just a solid monster lineup. Of course, there's other stuff that you can play that or you can side. This is what worked for you. I mean, obviously it worked well, 2nd place. So, but we run throughout testing and everything. That's just what worked. And you want to talk a little bit about your item? That's the next card in the lineup.
Browse one. You pay 1 life to equip it, and once per turn, during your turn, you can rest it to gain a gauge. And it just reduces your life link by 1. So
it makes your bots only 1 life link.
1, your Blade Wing, you don't take anything for it. 1.
It's so good.
1.
So good. And just that extra gauge ramp to help you in those annoying situations. And, I mean, you don't honestly even always need it, right? I mean, sometimes there's enough gauge ramp to where if the game's going in your favor, you won't need it. But it's always nice to have. And reducing the life link can be the difference between winning a game and losing a game.
Yeah. Unfortunately, late in the day, I didn't really see it.
Yeah.
It was too late.
So now we got the spells, and these are just a whole different annoyance of just a monster. This spell right here is so good.
Yes, I love this card. Bonus quest, you discard a size 2 or greater monster from your hand, and you gauge 2, draw 2, and gain a life.
So, it's so
Can't get any better than that. Is once per turn.
Yeah, but...
unfortunately.
So that's where that card, it honestly feels like it was made for this deck. Mm-hmm. It's so good. Because honestly, the only size 3 you want in your hand is bots.
Yeah.
Anything else you draw is fodder for that.
So, yeah. If you don't have your bots in hand, this helps you get it. You have your search spell to help you get it. And it really helps.
Oh, God. Those cards
helps you get your targets for Satsuki.
So, it gives you life in a deck where you need life because you're taking life link. It gives you the gauge in a deck that you need gauge. You're not drawing extra cards, but it's a 1-for-1 on cards you're drawing. You're basically sifting. So I'll take a break even on the drawing for 2 extra gauge and extra life. That's just amazing. And like you said, it's fueling the drop zone for the next spell we have coming up here. And I know people You know, people that use it love it, and people that play against it hate it.
Had some haters on this card.
Satsuki. This card is so good.
So Satsuki Palace, cast cost, put 2 Demon Lords from the drop zone into its soul, and it reduces any monster that I call by effect. It reduces the gauge cost by 1.
As long as it's not from the hand, right?
So yeah, just if anything you call by effect, it reduces it by 1. And then it has a counter ability that anytime that you don't have a monster in your center, you can call whatever you put into its soul out. And that gauge cost is reduced by 1 because it's by effect. So that covers your Satsuki and your bots.
Oh my god.
So that makes your Buki's free. If this, you usually don't want this in Satsuki, but if you have to, it's free. And if need be, we have a lot of other Demon Lord targets. Put those in there.
Yeah, if you need to. But like the bonus quest fuels into it so well, and you're paying so much gauge early game, and it reducing all of your gauge costs from deck and from its own soul just enables so many OTKs and just really helps you, and it can save you. And that's really, and that card's the main reason we even run 3 Buki, right? Like,
oh yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
You just don't call this from your hand usually. If you call this from your hand, you're in a very bad situation.
You get no effects. Yeah. And just throughout the palace and the search spell, Blade Wing's effect to put bots back in the deck if you need to. You basically have an infinite amount of bots in your deck.
Yes.
Because you can just reuse them through so many different shenanigans. Yes. So, speaking of the search spell, just the most basic card that is just great. Every good deck needs a search spell. They really do.
Just pay gauge, search for any Demon Lord. Not impact monsters, so that's also one reason why I took out the impact monster, because you cannot search for that. So
it basically gives you 8 bots in the deck to start out with. So that's awesome. So, for any good, like, the deck is very offensive, as we can see here. A lot of offense, a little bit of gauge ramp so far. But what good is offense without being able to protect your life and live through your opponent's turn? I have to say, this deck runs these 8 shields right here that we see, and they are probably 2 of the best shields in the game. At least Salshana is amazing, and Abominable Ritual is a copy of the Sun Dragon shield and Zodiac shield, and it's just an amazing card. So just talk about these cards a little bit right here.
Okay, so Abominable Ritual is just anytime that your Demon Lord is being attacked, you nullify the attack, gain a gauge and a life.
Oh,
so
so good.
Only thing is if people happen to bounce any of my stuff, can't do anything with this, but you have to play it. It's really good.
But that's why you play like a Thor to keep it from being destroyed, and the Jokers. That was a big reason for putting the Jokers in too.
Yes.
So
for those pesky people that want to bounce my box.
So Soul Guard, it's staying on the field. So sometimes they'll have ways to bounce it twice, and that sucks. But at least you made them do that. You forced their hand into it. So as good as that card is, like, it does have its flaws, of course, just like any card. But going into the next card, that kind of is the counterpart to that, for where it's not quite as good, but it's useful in every situation as long as you have the gauge.
Yeah. This is always live, so it's just pay gauge, nullify the attack, and gain a life.
Again, all this life gain, but the deck needs it. The deck really needs it. So those are the 8 nulls. So run 2 spells to round out the deck to an even 50. And why don't you talk about, I know a lot of people run the, what's it called? Magical Eye Release. And that's a good card.
Yes.
But talk about why you just chose Reset Button over that in these last 2 slots of the deck.
I chose Reset Button because, to me, you gain more from it than Magical Eye Release. And, I mean, it's 4 gauge. Basically, if anytime you put 1 or more gauge from your gauge zone to your deck, shuffle your deck, and then you gain 4 more gauge. I chose this over Magical Eye Release because Magical Eye Release requires you to have something on a Demon Lord on the field already, so it's a little more situational in my opinion. And like I said, you get more gauge from this. There were several situations where, like I said, my first turn, I would have bots in hand, call the bots, and maybe call
Nikazuchi, or, well, if you start with 3 gauge.
So yeah, just several situations where you would call a bots that would leave you with 1, and you would have Ikazuchi and whatever else in hand and cast this, and you just reset all your gauge. So
that gives you the 4 gauge to use bot skill, call out whatever you need, and then Ikazuchi, and then you'll have even more gauge left over afterwards if you open with a Satsuki.
Yep.
That's so good.
Yep.
And wand too. If you end up having to pay all your gauge, you can always rest the wand, give you that 1 more gauge for free, then use that gauge to reset your gauge back to forward reset button.
Yep.
Just So overall, I mean, you really love the deck, right? It's really good.
Yes, it's very fun.
I think you were, I don't want to say this without fully knowing, but I didn't see any more Demon Lord decks there, which kind of surprised me. We saw at least 2 Adventurer decks, right? But really good deck. This was what, your second top 8, and you made it all the way to 2nd place, and it went to game 3. And they were very good games. I know a lot of people were crowding the tables watching, and it was really fun to watch. It was a great event overall. So, do you have any closing statements? Any advice for anybody wanting to build the deck or anything? Anything you want to say?
You play bots. That's all I know. You
play big bots all the time.
Yes.
So, guys, without further to say, this has been Team Shenanigans, Justin, with Kristy, your 2nd place finisher at the Atlanta Regionals, and her Demon Lord deck profile. So thanks for watching, and until next time, this is us from Team Shenanigans, signing out.
Bye.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. Please remember to subscribe to the channel if you already haven't. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date on everything Team Shenanigans.